Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, everyone, for coming out to Tuesday, February 14th, Commission on Marine Resources meeting. At this time, I'm going to ask Director Spraggins to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Joe, you want to lead us in a prayer this morning?
Yes, and just like everybody to know that we've had a lot of great things happen. Y'all saw what happened at Michigan State yesterday, and the poor students that passed away there, and some other. And there's a lot of things going on in this country, and I just ask you to keep it in your heart, and keep praying for our country, and praying for the people here. And if we could, let's go to the Lord. Lord, we thank you so much for everything that you've done for us. And we ask that you just take this commission and take this agency and run it the way you would have us to run it. Give us the wisdom and let us use your wisdom. We ask this in Jesus Christ's name.
All right. Do we have any discussion on last month's minutes, January 17th? Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
All in favor? Aye. All right, minutes are approved. Joe, do we need to make a change to today's
Yes, sir,
agenda?
sir. Mr. Chairman, if you would, I would like to ask that we adjourn this meeting in honor of Major General Al Hopkins. He passed away on Sunday night, and great man, was the Assistant Adjutant General for the state of Mississippi for the Army National Guard, and since 2015 has been the head of the Gaming Commission. A great individual, a great Christian, and I just asked if we could close it in his honor, sir.
It'd be our honor to honor him. Thank you. We'll certainly do that.
Have to have a vote on that. Sandy, change the mo-
Okay. So with that said, do we have a motion to approve today's agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve today's agenda.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Miss Joe, it's all yours.
Okay, let's see what we can do here coming up. If I can go back and forth in Crystal's notes. All right, let's see. Employment, we had Chris Graham promoted to ENRS 2 and Marine Fisheries, Finfish. Katie Nelson is promoted to ENRS 2 and Coastal Resource Management Permitting. Caitlin Payne came out of Marine Patrol and is now promoted to NRS 1 in Coastal Resource Management Permitting. Anna Gamblin is promoted to ENRS 2 in Coastal Resource Management Permitting. We have a new hire. We have Trevor's boss, Miss Laura Moncrief, and she is now with Program Specialist 4 with Coastal. She's doing our grants there, but I've heard all the words. It's either she is it's Trevor's boss or she is it's about 19 different ones, but all of them puts it in the right perspective. But anyway, Ashton, is it Soprano? Anyway, however I said that, if I messed it up, I'm sorry. It's a part-time contractor with Marine Fisheries. All right, let's see. What else we got here? No contracts. Did I miss one? Excuse me? I'm moving along with the schedule. Go ahead, sit down. I got to give her a hard time. All right, there's no contract, so as I was looking at. Now we're going to the agency update. Okay, the proposed Mid-Britain diversion update. Do we have that on that we can bring up? Not. No slides? Well, I wish we'd put slides up. I'm not sure. Can we get that? Can I hold that till later and put the slides in there? Can y'all get those 3 slides so they can see it? And then I'll step over that. Our legislative update. All right, we got several bills that have passed through the Senate and they've gone to the House now. One is the one for crab boats, where everybody on the boat does not have to have a license. Just the boat will be licensed to match up with oysters and shrimp And then also, we had, that one has gone forward into to the House. Then we have the Marine Patrol allowing them to be able to do the things that they can in the federal waters and, to be able to make it all 100% correct. That's in there also. With the, on bottom leasing has passed and it's passed through the Senate to the House, and hopefully that'll come through too. And we're trying to get that one to where we can pass it and then have it upon passage, and maybe even go to conference and have it done by them sometime in March, so they can start leasing it. If the ones that want to use that property to be able to use the on bottom during the springtime for the spat set, so that we can do some work there. There's a couple other bills out there. One of them is renaming the Round Island, the Big Island over here as Tommy Gallat Island. And another one is to rename some areas for former Secretary Clark, an area over to the west. So, and then we're also looking at possibility of naming the point as Godfather Point. So we'll see what happens there. But that's they're bills that are being put out there for that. And if you don't know what Godfather Point is, that's Tommy Gallat. So the Godfather. And so we'd love to honor Mr. Tommy and everything that he's done for us over the years. A couple other small things out there. The last I saw on it about doing the comprehensive plan has not passed. I don't know if it's going to be brought back up or not, but we're looking at it. But just a few other things, but mostly the main bills that we had is the one that we talked about there. We got it. It'll come out of the Senate. That goes to the House. The House will have about, I think, next week. And I talked to Timmy, and Timmy's pretty much okay with everything. And and he'll do a reverse repealer, I think he said, and then turn around and take it to the conference, in which they can call a conference at any time. They don't have to wait to the end of the session. So hopefully that'll work out. Any questions on the legislative updates? All right. We had a council meeting January 30th through February 2nd in Baton Rouge. It didn't exactly go the way we wanted it. I can tell you we fought hard for some things. Trevor and them, Trevor did a heck of a job, I tell you what, and I got more accolades about that young man when I was over there the other day, and the things that he did as far as stepping up to the SSC and trying to do what's right. We are going to take a cut. As it stands right now, we go to 59,000. Trevor, you here? 59,000 something, what is it? Huh? 52 or 59? 62. And then if we get the amendment that they're working on, it'll go to 80 something.
Yes, 82. It's around 82, 300, something like that.
And that would be probably July before we could get that.
Yeah,
At the
I'm not
earliest,
sure
but we'll be able to open the season with that. And there is some talk for some other states that know that we took it that it wasn't right for us, and they're talking about giving us some additional of theirs. So we're working on that, and I think Florida is a state that's trying to help us out. So we're going to get there. We're going to. And Trevor, is there anything you want to talk about that other than that on the assessment?
No, I mean, I just think, we're going to have a lot of questions from y'all's constituents as commissioners and everything else. So, understanding the process we went through to get here is going to be important for everyone, because I think when the season comes out, folks will be starting to ask those questions.
And we'll be looking at it very hard. We'll look at it very hard as we go. We'll open the season about the same time we always do, Memorial Day weekend, and we'll see where we go. But I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be able to do our average 70-plus days. I think we'll be okay by the time we get the other things worked out. So I think it'll work out. Any questions on that? All right. That was a major thing in the meeting there. The snapper update, we just got part of that. Capitol Day, we had the February the 8th at Jackson. It was a very good day. Everything worked out. Had quite a few people stop by. We're not able to do the things we used to be able to do. We couldn't take them food or anything else, but there was some king cakes distributed up that way. So there was a lot of people happy with that. So they had a good time. And but we appreciate the staff going up and at least telling our story, and hopefully that a few people got something out of it. If you look on the screen now, you'll see the Mid-Britain diversion. And the sediment diversion proposed structure, which is intended to build marshes and all in the over in the Biloxi marsh area. If you can look at it, you'll see where we see the overall the EIS. I talked to Brent Hoss yesterday with GCRF, and he said that they were just in the beginning stages of the EIS, so it has not, gone formal or anything. We did a USM model. What I did is I asked Paul Mickle, who used to be our chief scientific officer at Mississippi State, to put together a team, and we gave him the funds to do it and do an EIS, a model, and basically on what we would do as far as if the water itself, the movement of the water. I wanted to know what would happen with the movement of the water. And so next slide. We got 3 scenarios. The first scenario is a project, a significant increase in cumulative days of less than 5 parts per thousand, and I'm talking salinity less than 5 parts per thousand within the Western Sound and the Central Mississippi Sound, and that is when the Mid-Britain diversion is active. And I want you to understand that it says that the notable increase in cumulative days, I'll get that out in a minute, is also indicated in the eastern Mobile Bay area. But this first one, when we talk about it, I want you to understand this is without the Bonnie Carey being in it. So there is no effect of the Bonnie Carey at any time. It's an 11-year time frame, and we'll look at that. Scenario 2 and 3 is a model that projects mixed results of minor increases and decreases throughout the Mississippi Sound, and indicating that the diversion did not further degrade it. And basically what we're talking about, that's bottom salinity. If we use it like the second model is putting the Bonnie Carey in it, and the third model is the 2019, the year 2019, which is our strongest year anomaly and what would happen. And we'll go to that as we get to it. Next slide. If you see that first model, all right, and if you look over to your right, you see the number of days from 0 to 100 in red or in blue. And the red is the salinities above it, blue is the salinities below it. And what it basically shows, if you ran that 11-year model for the Mississippi Sound and only used the Mid-Britain as being open, and this is being open the days that it would have been when the river level was that high, and then running to the max that it could run, which is 75,000 cubic feet per second. I think that's right, Rick. And but this is if you look at it and you see what's going on there, what's that, a pointer? But I tell you what, I can walk down there. That's our main area. See that dark area? So we look up days. Oh, 5 parts. North to north to south. A lot more in that area also. If you look over all the way over to the east over here, the effect of Mobile Bay, what's happened there, this water is coming out and pushing down. So it's going to hurt them also. I tell you, it's not good what we normally have our water. That's our question.
So again, this is the model that was run, and like Director Sprague said, this is based on that 11-year average of all the river inputs. And so what this is days additional on top of what the rivers would normally do. It's not adding the river the freshwater input from the rivers in there. It's in addition to. So you're looking at between 50 and 100 days extra on top of the freshwater that we normally get. Like you said, without the without the Bonnie Carey spillway. The other two scenarios, we didn't include them on there because one of them is running it at max all year long, and that's just not possible. They ran that model just to see if there would be any. They ran that model first to see if there would be any changes, and if there weren't any changes, then they would know that they didn't need to continue running the model. So they ran that model, and obviously, if that ran at 75,000 cubic feet per second all year long, it would be much more significant than this. So they continued to run another model, and that was the 2019. But this is the most significant, as if it was to operate in a normal condition with various river levels, that we would get some pretty significant impacts based on this model.
So,
Yeah, if you look at it, I don't know, did y'all load the other models up at all?
No,
Okay. And basically what you would see, if you look where the blue is, it'd be white on the sound there, and that's because with the Bonnie Carey and everything else opening, it's already dead with 0% salinity, so you can't change it. You know, it's not going to make a difference. This is a delta between the difference of where the salinity's at. It's not about what the fresh water is doing other than that. So the only thing that I can tell you on it would be that you would look down around the chandeliers in that area, and there was a lot more fresh water in that area than they would have been in a normal time. So that was a big thing that we saw there. That was even if it's not going to hurt anything because the Bonnie Carey's already wiped out the western sound, it's still going to hurt the eastern sound. I mean, the southern part of the western sound is still going to hurt that. And the water will still push to the east, and it'll still push to the east and do the things that we're talking about. Rick, you got something?
Yeah, and that's on. I think that's on about the third page of the
Yeah.
report.
You want to go to the next page, next slide?
No, that was it. It was just that scenario one that we provided.
Well, the next
because-
slide is okay, that's it, okay. Yeah, all right, so is there any questions? I know it's a short, I gave you a copy of it. We're gonna put the copy of the study on our website. So if anybody would like to go download it off the website, it's like 88 pages if you want the whole study. The first 4 pages will tell you pretty much everything. I believe that's right, Rick, something like
Yes,
that.
sir.
Kind of a short synopsis of it. But I think it's something that we definitely need to look at very hard. And we definitely need to stay on top of it with the Corps of Engineers. And we need to make sure that the Corps understands that we want to be a part of this EIS and we want this information put out. Because I realize that Louisiana wants to build Marshback. I understand that, okay? But I don't want them to build Marshback at our expense. And that's what we need to look at. And
Well,
we need to
Phil-
look at.
I feel like there'd be more of an expense than just the oysters. I mean, obviously the oysters wouldn't be able to withstand this, but now we're talking about a third of the year with salinity below 5. Our trout can't spawn in
Well,
that either.
it's not necessarily that. We're doing that at your trout and then also your brown shrimp.
That
that's
was
your
my
bed-
next
you made
point
your
where the
bed for the
shrimp
brown
as
shrimp.
well. So I mean, we're
And,
hitting our
We're
commercial
doing another
fishermen.
study right now that has gone into internal review with the same group, but they're different scientists, and they're doing a study to be able to look at the biological effects. What would it do to the shrimp, to the oysters, and the crabs, and what will happen there? And so that will go into peer review probably in a few weeks and come out in the summer, early summer, from a peer review on that. So we're looking at it, and we need to make sure that's exactly what you're talking about. Because I mean, you just think about it. If you look at that as we're seeing it now, and most of you know that what happened in 2019 when Bonnie Carey did what it did, our speckled trout moved down to Cat Island, right? And south of Cat Island. Well, they can't even go south of Cat Island now. So I guess they're going to have to go down to South America somewhere and then come back. But it's not good. And the Western Sound is it's not very good at all for the whole Western Sound.
Yeah, we would see some significant impacts on every species that we have, from oysters all the way to dolphins and sea turtles. Just kind of like we did in 2019. The spillway was open for 123 days. I don't remember the number of days below 5 parts per thousand, but it was probably similar to what this model's showing.
I would imagine out of the 123 days, we were less than 5 parts in the Western Sound, about 80 of it or more.
Yeah, and this is another thing. This is run, like I said, based on river stage. So this is basically from January to September. From September to December, we didn't see it. There wasn't any change. So it would be the
This
prime
is what
months.
time frame?
January to September. That's when your river levels are going to be at the highest, when it would be activated.
Well, that's in the peak of our fishing season on most of the things. And the other thing too is that you got to understand that just because if the Bonnie Carey opens, you can guarantee this one's going to be one running at full capacity. You can guarantee that. So all it's going to do is add to it. It's not going to take away from it. It's going to add to it. And the predominant winds in the summertime is out of the southwest, right? Southeast, yeah.
That's pushing it all back in here. on
Pushing
us
it all
even
right
more.
back into us. So it's not a good scenario overall. I have been very unvocal about this, and y'all know that. I have not said a whole lot one way or the other until I got some type of scientific evidence of what it would do. But when I did, this was done by peer review, and it was nonpartisan. We gave it to Sea Grant. Sea Grant was the one who that put it out to the ones to review it. So it is a very nonpartisan study of what would happen, and I feel strongly would hold up in court. And that's the thing that we looked at, and we're going to do the same thing with the biological. I want facts. I don't want thoughts. I want facts, and that's what we work off of. And I think that when the science puts the facts out, it's a different story.
And as it stands, this currently is best scientific information available. There's nothing else that refutes it. So this is right now. This is
Yeah, and you can.
all in all.
I know that Louisiana has this now, and they're going to try to start picking it apart the best they can. But as I talked to Brent yesterday, and I told him, he said, well, I know it says 75,000, but we only going to probably do 50,000. I said, well, that's not what it said, Brent. It says 75.
What, Rick? What is the time frame for them making a decision on this?
I think the EIS is scheduled to come out in the fall, or the EIS
It's
and
the draft is under the beginning stages of the EIS right now.
there's a public comment period that whenever they're going to publish it on the Federal Register, and the public has, I don't know, 60 to 90 days or maybe 30 days to be able to comment, and this will be the state's comments. This will go into the record for that, correct?
Hmm.
Yeah.
What? I'm sorry. What are the geographic boundaries of the EIS that they're running? Does it come into our waters, or does it stop like the Bonnie
Not
Carey one
originally, they did not. Originally, they stopped over west of the Chandeliers, well west of there, and it was just Louisiana waters. And because it was Louisiana, and we did talk with the Corps, and I think the Corps had agreed to put the Mississippi Sound into it. We met with the senators and legislators last week about this. They're on board with us. We've met with the Gulf Coast Coalition, and they're on board with us to be able to look at this. Whatever it needs, I think the senators and the governor and our congressman, we're going to have to get them to make sure we put the pressure on the Corps to make sure that this is included, and that they have to look at this and they have to be able to understand it. You know, I don't doubt that Louisiana's going to fight it. And, you know, they got to look at what they think is right. But I think that we need to put our full efforts forward on this, too, because this is not just for one day. This is not just for 1 year. This is for a lifetime. And, you know, I think we can, unless we can find fish and crab and oysters and shrimp that can adapt to fresh water, I think we're going to have a problem. Anything else, Rick? All right. Any questions on that any further? Okay. Just another update too, where the total of 79 derelict vessels cases have been reported. 57 of them have been removed. 22 are pending right now, and 4 have received court orders. And so we are moving along with that. And we encourage anyone, if you have a derelict vessel out there, to please call the number. I think it's listed on our website. Is that correct? It is on our website, and so you can be able to get that number. We'll be closed next Monday, and in honor of President's Day, and probably be trying to recover next Wednesday from next Tuesday. So, but you know, being mighty God. Sir, with that, that's all the comments I have. I've taken up too much of your time. Any other questions?
I don't think so. Thank you, Joe. Commissioner's report. We got anything from our commissioners today? Yes, sir.
Well, I can't help but comment about that flooding over there because the brown shrimp season, those things are extremely skittish of fresh water. And so all I think that would do is just lead to a further decimation of the inshore fleet. Because what the shrimp are going to do is just move off offshore. We've got federally permitted boats, and I think our local guys would certainly suffer.
I absolutely have to agree with you on that. It's a scary thought.
And all indications from a bunch of seafood shows and things like that we're going to is the imported shrimp is going to keep pouring into this country at significantly cheaper levels than our domestic folks are able to catch it and produce it with the high price of fuel. So, everything's going to looks like it's going to lead to lower prices, higher cost, and more stress on our local fishermen and processors. So all of you guys just keep eating domestic shrimp anytime you can.
I agree with that.
Commissioner, we forgot the actions update from the prior meeting.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You're exactly right. How about the action from the prior meeting? I'm sorry.
It was Crystal's fault. At the January meeting, the commission recommended and the director approved a variance and a permit that was requested by Mike Fitzpatrick for the construction of a 90-foot jetty in the Bay of St. Louis in Pass Christian. And there was a state saltwater finfish record for all tackle, a scrawled filefish by Tommy Phelps.
All right, we got that out of the way.
Yeah. Did I forget anything else?
You were warned. All right, Chief.
Well, I'm going to be short-winded, as I normally am. I will say I do like where we're going with everything, pressing forward. This agency has impressed me over and over again, and it's a pleasure to work for it. Okay. Director, your people, your Marine Patrol officers have worked very diligently during January. Normally, January is somewhat, I would say, it's never slow, but it's slower. And your officers have pressed forward, and they've done a phenomenal job with compliance with all our constituents and all our people out there that buy these fishing licenses and these commercial licenses. They have worked well with them. We have checked over 1,300 individuals this month, and there were several citations in the report itself. I will delve into it a little bit, even though they are pending, if you have any questions.
1,300 this month. Boy, y'all busy.
What I'm saying, it's normally a slower month.
Would you mind, you remember we had a family that was missing and they found them, right?
Yes, indeed.
And would you mind giving a little details on what they found when they found them?
Well, we got in on the tail end of the search. I think we put about, I would say, 15 to 20 hours into it. I think it was a total of 30-hour search. When we responded and the Coast Guard responded, we found that they actually had some illegal fish on board, red snapper, and that was their intent, to go fishing for red snapper, even though it is closed. And, they were in possession. We wrote them one citation. We didn't stack any charges on them because they had an ordeal, but they had to be in compliance.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad they were found safe.
Yes, sir.
And I'm glad that y'all were able to
That
do
was
it.
the main goal.
But I think they had like 17.
There was actually 7 on board, and I think there were multiple ones floating in the
They were
water.
floating in the water when they were throwing them out. But anyway, long story short, I'm just glad that they were found safe.
Yes, indeed.
We got any questions? All right, we appreciate it, Chief. Y'all keep up the good work.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, permitting update, Miss Willa Brantley.
Good morning. I have some more numbers for you. Ours aren't quite as impressive coming after that 1,300 in a month. Ours are for the full year. Ours do take a little longer though. We had 836 total actions that the permitters processed last year in the calendar year. 708, the vast majority of those were either regulated activities directly or things that we review for coastal zone consistency. So that means things that happen outside of our coastal wetlands, outside of tidal waters, but that could impact our waters and habitats and fisheries out in tidal waters. So that's 708 things that we reviewed there. And we reviewed another 84 projects or had pre-application meetings for those projects. That's where we meet with the proposed applicants prior to the application coming in so that we hopefully get a good complete application and can review it quickly. And then some things we review to see whether they even need a permit or not, and a lot don't. We also had 41 violations, and that's up from last year. So this next one kind of compares the last couple of years and the last couple of half years, showing our numbers. So our total actions actually stayed exactly the same from last year. Our regulated activities and consistency determinations did go down, but our reviews and especially our violations did go up this year. I do have some specifics on those violations. 20 of those 41, so right at half, were not a violation once staff got out and looked at them. Those are all ones that were reported by the public, usually neighbors, and sometimes they don't have a good true view of what's going on. So once we get out there, there's actually no violation. The rest, 21, were violations. 13 were covered through the after the fact permitting process, and 8 were resolved by the violator voluntarily. So that usually means either they've cut down some vegetation and they need to just let it regrow, or maybe there's some silt that has gone off of their property into the waterway and they have to pull that out and get their silt fencing and erosion control in place. Those are the two most common that can be resolved easily.
So we had 22 actual violations, but there weren't any fines assessed at all for any of those.
No, sir.
We talked several months ago about the after the fact stuff and all that, and we had discussed doing some more outreach to make sure that the marine contractors know what they need to do and can get in here. Have we done anything with that?
We haven't yet. Well, we've done some outreach in the past year on living shoreline projects. We haven't done specific to what is regulated and what is not. We've been trying to wait for the new general permit revision to come out by the Corps, and that is imminently coming out. So we plan to do some meetings in each of the 3 counties for contractors and city county workers. We're going to do that hopefully at least by June, if not before then.
Okay.
Yeah, some kind of approval for the contractors, or to be a representative of the the actual ownership of the property, to go through maybe some kind of training and get a license, so they fully understand what's on the line.
Yeah, there's no legal provision that they have to have a license. Marine contractors don't have to have a license in the state unless they're working on a commercial project.
Or if it's over, if they engage in over $50,000, I think they have to have a license. You can't do a whole lot these days for
Is
less
that
than
a
50.
obviously that's a single
Requirement
job?
for construction for any contractor? Yeah. I was just thinking maybe like a like a lot of the local municipalities or counties have like a local license for the contractor, which just means them coming in and understanding what the repercussions are or what the rules are that they need to follow
Right.
for the wetlands.
Biloxi and Gulfport have historically supported us pretty well. They'll send people over here if they don't have a permit from us, if they're on the water, before they'll give a building permit. Some of the other cities, not so much. So that's the ones that we're going to be targeting in those municipal trainings, is the city and county, like building permit people and inspectors. So they'll know, what is a wetland, what is a regulated activity for us and the Corps. We bring in the Corps, DEQ, Secretary of State, all the different agencies talk about what we look at through the permitting process.
And I think that's something that we discussed too, was really reaching out more to the municipalities, getting them some additional literature and info.
We've, I did forget, we have done a couple of articles in our coastal markers about what needs a permit, what doesn't need a permit, what the permit process is, why we permit things, you know, not just to charge an application fee, but to actually protect the habitat, things like that. So we have done those.
Okay.
All right, thank you. I know Jennifer's not here. Jared, can you come up a minute? Just got some questions. You know, we've been looking at this, the EIS and everything that's going to happen. Could you give us kind of an idea of what you think might be the damage to the estuary itself as far as our marshlands and everything else if we build this Mid-Britain diversion, if they do it?
How you turn this on? That's a good question. I guess I'll save an answer for when I actually see the EIS to where I can make an educated answer on that.
Well, you know, the fresh water being at minus less than 5 parts per thousand, you know, over a 50-day period or something, is that going to do anything to the grass?
It's a possibility.
And, you know, what about the, you know, the bottom, because we're talking bottom salinity less than 5.
It could have an impact, but I would like to read the EIS before I make any, this is the first time I've seen the data that was presented here today. I'd like to see the full report first.
Okay, any questions, Commissioner?
I'd say he handled that pretty well. Can't have fun, you can't do anything at all.
All I can say is I bet he has a good glass tonight.
All right, if we don't have anything else on that, we are going to move on to finance and administration. Ms. Brewer?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Leslie Brewer, CFO. I'll be presenting the financials for January 31st, 2023. Our state revenue was $4.8 million. Agency revenue is $20.1 million. State net income is $484,000, and agency net income was at $440,000. And after 7 months, we are at 87.9% of our budget for operations, and Tidelands is at 62.3%.
Anybody got anything? Thank you. You keep up with a lot of numbers that cross my eyes. All right, Ms. Charmaine?
Good morning, Commissioners, Director Spraggins, Sandy. The Mississippi Department of Marine Resources had 11 media mentions since the January MACMR meeting. News items included the Bonnie Carey Spillway court ruling, missing boaters who were rescued, and the MDMR joining the Foundation for Mississippi Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. The Office of Marine Patrol took part in the Career Readiness Experience at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College on February 9th. Marine Patrol also participated in the Kids 101 program on Saturday and Sunday at the Biloxi Boat Show, along with the Grand Bay Near staff and Coastal Resources Management's Invasive Species Program. Each group featured a booth at the event and saw over 300 children and parents over the weekend. In addition to the Kids 101 program at the Biloxi Boat Show, the Artificial Reef Bureau staffed the agency's public outreach booth each of the 3 days of the boat show at the Mississippi Coast Convention Center. They shared insight on fishing reefs and fisheries management, as well as handing out MDMR informational materials. The Bays and Bayous Symposium took place January 24th and 25th at the Mobile Convention Center. The event was sponsored by MDMR and Grand Bay Near. Staff from the Grand Bay Near and Office of Marine Fisheries Shellfish Bureau presented talks or posters. Presenters were Dr. Aisha Gray, Sandra Bilbo, Jonathan Pitchford, Michael Archer, Andrew Heaton, Brianna Andrews, Amanda Free, Catherine Glover, and Ellen Coffin. Also in attendance at the symposium were Tracy Floyd, Jason Ryder, Jason Socher, John Barr, and Nick Moreno. The Shellfish Bureau hosted their off-bottom oyster aquaculture class on January 21st. Finfish Bureau Biological Program Coordinator Megan Fleming gave a career pathways presentation to ninth graders January 26th, hosted by the Biloxi Chamber of Commerce. At the Grand Bay Near, Jennifer Cumbus visited St. Martin gifted students January 13th for an on-the-road education program. The Near also hosted a batik art workshop instructed by Dr. Gray. Avery Beck, Sandra Bilbo, and Jennifer Cumbus also led other instructional aspects of the workshop, which highlighted awareness on invasive species at the reserve. Sandra Bilbo and Brianna Andrews attended and presented at the GOMA Education and Engagement Mid-Year Meeting and Southern Association of Marine Educators Annual Meeting in Mandeville, Louisiana, January 19th through the 21st. Margot Posen and Dennis McGurry with Grand Bay Near's Coastal Training Program co-hosted a Social Science Basics Training Workshop in Mobile, Alabama, January 26th and 27th. D'Iberville Middle School gifted students took a field trip to Grand Bay Near January 31st and February 1st. Avery Beck and Sandra Bilbo took the students on nature walks around the reserve, where students explored different habitats and engaged in hands-on learning. The Office of Coastal Restoration and Resiliency's Jeff Rosenberg and the Near Sandra Bilbo collaborated on an educational program for Ocean Springs Upper Elementary gifted fifth graders. On February 6th through the 9th, students visited the Charnley Norwood House in Ocean Springs. Students explored the home's native plant meadow with Sandra through sensory activities and a nature scavenger hunt, and Jeff led the students on a tour of the house. The MDMR hosted its Capitol Day at the Rotunda in Jackson on February 8th. Our staff represented all areas of the agency, educating legislators, Capitol staff, and visitors about how our agency enhances, protects, and conserves our state's marine resources. And then lastly, we have the printed issue of our coastal markers that has come out. We also have the digital version that has been emailed out. So if anybody wants to pick up a copy, they're in the back. So it just talks about some great things that our agency is doing.
You've had a busy month.
Oh, yes.
I did want to take a moment to thank you for all the help with Kids 101 and getting that everybody lined up and all of our departments that came out and helped. That's an event that I put together several years ago, and we hope to see 25 or maybe 40 kids that first year. And now between Mobile and Biloxi, we're reaching upwards of maybe 600 kids with that event. And we're just planting seeds for our natural resources with these kids, and it's a great event for them, and we really appreciated everyone's participation in it.
Well, everyone was excited to be part of it, so.
It was great. The kids had a really good time there.
Charmaine, do we have the coastal markers? Are they printed yet?
Yeah, they're in the back.
They're in the back. Oh, we do have some in the back. Okay. I was just wanting to make sure we had some if anybody wanted any, and we'll get the commissioners a copy of it. That's what I was texting Rick about.
All right, we're going to move on to marine fisheries. We got some new records. Brody Arms must be spending a lot of time in school because he ain't on here right now.
That's what I was thinking.
Where's
too.
he at?
I don't know. Maybe he's got him a girlfriend or something. You know, just taking time away from fishing.
Do we have a junior Hall of Fame? I think he'd be at the top of the list for that.
Probably. Between him and Doug Voorhees, who's on here, they hold about 20 records apiece. All right, so morning commissioners, we got 2 records to consider today. First one was the mutton snapper. I mentioned in that last meeting. This is our first submission of a mutton snapper. 5 pounds, 8.8 ounces. Angler is John Montgomery. It's a picture of the fish. Picture of Mr. Montgomery with the fish. And then we've got a fly fishing record from Mr. Doug Voorhees. It's a sheep's head. The old record was 7 pounds, 12 ounces. New record is 8 pounds, 1.6 ounces. It's a picture of the fish. There's a picture of Mr. Voorhees with the fish. And I know I mentioned we've got a smooth hound that we're waiting on. We sent it off for genetic identification. And we've got a positive ID back, but they're wanting to double check just because it is such a rare species. So we might be having that one pop up next month. But all we need is a motion to recommend the adoption of these 2 records.
I'll make the motion to recommend the adoption.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, do we have any other business today?
Yes, sir. I would. I don't know. I know we probably mentioned it the other day in the last meeting, but I just want to reiterate that Department of Marine Resources is now a member of the Mississippi Wildlife Foundation and Parks Foundation. I think this is a great thing for us to be able to be a part of this. We're a standing member with them, and the director is of the agency will be a member of the board. We also have 2 members from the South Mississippi, Mr. Paul Benton and David Machado, that are both on that board, and we have another one that's been from South Mississippi, and but we have quite a few people that are on there. They're looking at it. I tell you right now that they're very, very fired up about us being a part of it, and I think it's a great thing for us to be able to be a part of the foundation. And it is a well-run organization, and we will be able to hopefully do some things in the near future to be able to help the fisheries as far as being able to help teach children how to and other people how to fish and do some things there that need to be done. And we're looking to try to do, one of the things I've asked them is to give me some, to be able to raise funds to give scholarships for students to go into marine resources and to be able to study that. So hopefully those things will work out, and I just think that'd be a great deal for us, and I appreciate them letting us be a part of it.
That's good news for sure. Have we got anything else? All right, do we have any public comments?
No public comment? I don't have any.
You want to close this out today, Joe?
Yes, sir, if I could. Once again, I'd like to close this meeting in honor of Major General Al Hopkins. Great man, worked hard for the coast. He's a Mississippi resident from up in North Mississippi area, but I went to Delta State and Mississippi, University of Mississippi to get his Juris Doctorate. He was a assistant adjutant general for Army, and as I said, head of the Gaming Commission since 2015. He is a great Christian. He is a deacon at First Baptist Church, and he has led our scrap iron class at First Baptist Church for as long as I can remember. And that's a group of us, our Sunday school class. And I tell you what, our average age is about 75, so that gives you a number. But General Hopkins would have been 82 today. And a great man, great person. And if I could, just ask to close this in his honor, sir.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor?